The rain hammered against the glass corridors of Monarch Industries Tower long after midnight. Derek Hayes pushed his janitor's cart down the empty hallway, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. His 7-year-old daughter, Zoe, sat on a bench near the elevator, swinging her legs and clutching her worn, stuffed rabbit. Then 3 men stepped out from the stairwell shadows. They moved with purpose toward the little girl. Zoe's eyes went wide. "Daddy, please stop them!" Her scream shattered the silence. Derek turned. Instinct replaced thought. 6 seconds. That's all it took. A pivot, an elbow strike to the first man's throat, a precise punch that dropped the second, a sweeping kick that left the third unconscious on the polished floor. The next morning, a government motorcade appeared outside their crumbling apartment building. Derek Hayes had learned to make himself invisible. At 36, he stood 6 feet with the kind of broad shoulders that came from years of discipline, not gym memberships. His dark brown skin bore the same scars on his knuckles that spoke of a different life, faint marks that told stories he never shared. His hair was cut close to his scalp, military short, though nobody at Monarch Industries knew why. His hands, calloused from pushing mops and carrying trash, were the hands of a man who had been something else once. Those scars told stories he never shared. He had been part of something once, a counter-terrorism unit so classified it had no official name. They called it retrieval operations, a sanitized term for missions where politicians' children were saved from basements in war zones, where hostages were pulled from compounds that didn't exist on any map. Derek had been good at it, too good. He could read a room in seconds, neutralize threats before they escalated, and carry a wounded civilian 20 meters through hostile territory, without rest. Then Lena happened. Lena with her bright laugh and her belief that Derek could be more than a weapon. They married quietly. She got pregnant. Derek promised her he'd leave the life behind after one more mission, but Lena never heard that promise fulfilled. Complications during Zoe's birth took her away. The doctors used words like hemorrhage and cardiac arrest, but Derek only heard one truth. His wife was gone, and he was holding a newborn who needed him more than any mission ever had. So he disappeared, not from Zoe, but from the world that knew him as an operator. He became a janitor. The pay was terrible. The hours were long, but it let him stay close to his daughter. He worked nights at Monarch Industries Tower, one of those glass monuments to wealth and power that dominated the city's skyline. During the day, he was Zoe's father. At night, while she slept in the employee lounge or did homework under the glow of vending machines, he cleaned offices where decisions worth millions were made by people who never saw him. Zoe Hayes was everything her father was not. Where Derek was quiet, she was curious. Where he concealed, she revealed. At 7, she had her mother's warm brown skin and bright smile, and her father's determined gray-brown eyes. She was shy around other children, but fearless with her father. She asked him questions about everything. Why birds flew south, how tall buildings stayed standing, whether stars knew people were watching them. Derek answered what he could and invented answers when he couldn't. She was his whole world, and keeping her safe meant keeping her innocent of the violence he'd left behind. Olivia Hart ran Monarch Industries the way generals ran campaigns, with strategy, discipline, and an emotional distance that kept everyone at arm's length. At 33, she was younger than most of the board members who'd tried to undermine her. She wore her authority like armor, always impeccably dressed, her auburn hair styled perfectly, her tailored suits projecting power without apology. She walked through her building like she owned it, because she did. But power came with ghosts. When Olivia was 14, she'd been taken. Her father was a senator with enemies who knew that the fastest way to break a man was through his children. She'd spent 4 days in darkness, listening to footsteps above her head, wondering if she'd ever see sunlight again. Then someone came. She never saw his face clearly, just felt strong arms lifting her, heard a calm voice saying, "You're safe now," as he carried her through what felt like miles of forest. By the time the official rescue team arrived, she was already free and her rescuer was gone. The trauma specialist her father hired said she'd forget in time. She didn't. She remembered the feeling of being helpless, and she'd built her entire life around never feeling that way again. Control became her religion. Trust became a luxury she couldn't afford. And the janitor who worked in her building at night, he was invisible to her, just another part of the machinery that kept her empire running until the night 3 men came for his daughter. The attack happened in Section 7 of the 42nd floor, near the executive suite. Derek had finished cleaning the conference rooms and was heading toward the service elevator when Zoe called out that she needed the bathroom. He told her to use the one near the waiting area. She just turned the corner when the stairwell door opened. 3 men, not security, not employees. They moved like hunters, and their eyes locked on Zoe immediately. The little girl froze. They were 20 feet away. Now 15, now 10. She could see their faces, cold, professional, empty of mercy. Her lungs found air. "Daddy, please stop them." Derek Hayes didn't think. Thinking took too long. His body remembered what his mind had tried to forget. He was already moving when the first man reached for Zoe. The janitor's uniform became irrelevant. The mop cart clattered aside. He closed the distance in 3 strides. The first attacker barely registered Derek's presence before an elbow caught him in the throat. Precise, calculated, the kind of strike that didn't kill, but absolutely incapacitated. The man went down gasping. The second attacker threw a punch that would have shattered an ordinary man's jaw. Derek slipped it, redirected the momentum, and drove his fist into the man's solar plexus. The attacker folded. The third man pulled a knife. Big mistake. Derek caught his wrist, twisted until something popped and swept his legs. The man's head hit the marble floor with a sound that echoed through the empty corridor. 6 seconds, 3 men down. Zoe stood frozen, her brown eyes wide with shock. Then she ran, not away, but toward her father. She crashed into his arms and he held her, his heart hammering against his ribs. She was crying, her small body shaking. "It's okay, sweetheart. It's okay. Daddy's here." But it wasn't okay. Derek knew these weren't random thugs. Their stance, their coordination, their equipment, these were professionals. Someone had sent them, and worse, someone had sent them to a place where his daughter was. He looked at the security camera blinking red in the corner. Then he looked at the 3 unconscious men. He had maybe 5 minutes before backup arrived, before questions got asked that he couldn't answer. He pulled Zoe close and moved fast. He knew where the camera blind spots were. He knew which stairwell had a broken lock. By the time security arrived, they'd find 3 confused men with no explanation and no janitor in sight. That night, Derek didn't sleep. He sat in their tiny apartment, watching the street below through torn curtains. Zoe slept fitfully, crying out twice. Both times he was there, holding her hand, promising her monsters weren't real. But he knew better. Monsters were very real, and they knew where he lived. Morning came with sirens. Not police sirens, something else. Zoe was eating cereal at their small kitchen table when Derek heard them. The kind of motorcade that meant government business. He pulled back the curtain. 5 black SUVs with government plates blocked the street. Men in tactical vests were establishing a perimeter, and stepping out of an armored Cadillac in the center of it all was Olivia Hart. She wore a charcoal suit with a crisp white blouse, her auburn hair pulled back, her expression unreadable behind designer sunglasses. But her presence here in this neighborhood where rust stains ran down the sides of buildings and laundry hung on fire escapes was impossible to miss. Neighbors poured onto their stoops. People pulled out phones. A CEO didn't visit the poor side of town with a government escort unless something seismic was happening. Olivia walked straight to Derek's building. 2 men in dark suits flanked her. She climbed the 4 flights of stairs, like she was ascending to a boardroom. When she knocked on Derek's door, the sound was steady and professional. Zoe looked at her father with questions in her eyes. Derek put a finger to his lips and opened the door. Olivia stood in the hallway, her heels sinking slightly into carpet that hadn't been replaced since the 80s. Up close, without the distance of corporate hierarchy, Derek could see she was younger than he'd thought, and scared, trying to hide it, but scared. "Mr. Hayes," her voice was controlled. "We need to talk immediately." Derek stepped aside. Zoe peeked out from behind him, her stuffed rabbit clutched tight. Olivia's gaze softened for just a moment when she saw the little girl, the small black child with braided hair and cautious eyes. Then the mask returned about last night. Derek's tone was neutral. "What about it?" Olivia removed her sunglasses. Her eyes were sharp, assessing. "So, you admit it was you?" "I admit I protected my daughter from 3 men who had no business being there." Olivia studied him. Really studied him. She saw the military posture he couldn't fully hide. The way his eyes tracked her security detail outside, the scars on his dark knuckles. The calm that radiated from someone who'd been in worse situations. No ordinary janitor drops 3 trained operatives in 6 seconds. Mr. Hayes, no ordinary CEO shows up at a janitor's apartment with government security. They stared at each other. Zoe pulled on Derek's sleeve. "Daddy, who's the fancy lady?" Olivia's expression cracked just slightly. She knelt down to Zoe's eye level. "I'm Olivia. I work in the building where your daddy works. He did something very brave last night." "He's always brave," Zoe said simply. Olivia stood. "May I sit down?" Derek gestured to their worn couch. Olivia sat looking strange and out of place among their thrift store furniture and patched walls. Her security stayed in the hallway. When the door closed, she spoke. "I've been followed for 3 months. Professional surveillance. Someone breached my personal security network. At first, my team thought it was corporate espionage. Then we started finding patterns. The same faces at different events. Cars that appeared too consistently. Last week, my head of security showed me footage of 3 men conducting reconnaissance at Monarch Industries. The same 3 men who attacked your daughter last night." Derek felt his blood run cold. "They weren't after Zoe." "No, they were after me. But I wasn't there. I changed my schedule last minute. Security believes they were trying to grab leverage. Your daughter was in the wrong place." "Or the right place," Derek said quietly. "Depending on your perspective." Olivia leaned forward. "Mr. Hayes, whoever sent those men knows you stopped them. They know you're not what you appear to be. My security ran your background. Your employment history only goes back 7 years. Before that, nothing. No college records, no prior addresses, no digital footprint. You're a ghost. I'm a janitor. No, you're someone who became a janitor. There's a difference." She paused. "I need to know what we're dealing with. Are you part of this? Are you a threat to my company?" Zoe had wandered to the window to watch the motorcade. Derek kept his voice low. "I'm a father trying to raise his daughter in peace. That's all I am now. Whatever I was before doesn't matter. It matters if it puts my company at risk." "Your company?" Derek's tone hardened. 3 men tried to grab my daughter. I don't care about your company. I care about keeping her safe." "Then we have common ground." Olivia pulled out a phone, showed him footage. These three. Do you recognize them? Derek studied the faces. Military training. Private contractor billed Eastern European features on 2 of them. Mercenaries, well-funded ones. How do you know? I know. Olivia put the phone away. My head of security thinks this is about me, about something from my past. When I was 14, I was kidnapped. It's not public information. My father paid a fortune to keep it quiet, but whoever's behind this knows, and they're recreating it. Why? I don't know. Revenge against my father. Corporate sabotage. All I know is they're escalating. The 3 men you stopped won't be the last. Derek looked at Zoe, who was pressing her nose against the window, making fog patterns with her breath. What do you want from me? Protection for both of us. My security can keep me safe in controlled environments. But you saw a threat and neutralized it in seconds. I need someone who can do that if things go wrong. I'm not a bodyguard. No, you're something better. You're someone they won't see coming. Derek stood. I appreciate the offer, Miss Hart. But I left that life behind for a reason. I have a daughter who needs a father, not a weapon. Olivia stood too. Then think about this. If they know about you now, do you really believe they'll leave you alone? You humiliated whoever sent those men. That's not something people like that forgive. The words hung in the air. Derek knew she was right. He'd broken the first rule of staying hidden. Never draw attention. But given the same situation, he'd do it again in a heartbeat. I need time, he said finally. You don't have time. Olivia moved to the door. My security team has swept this building. You're clean for now, but Mr. Hayes, when they come back, and they will, don't hesitate to call. She handed him a card. That number reaches me directly. Day or night, she left. The motorcade pulled away 15 minutes later. Zoe turned from the window. Daddy, are we in trouble? Derek pulled her into a hug. No, sweetheart. Everything's going to be fine. But that night, he didn't sleep. He sat at the window with the lights off, watching the street. At 2 a.m. in the morning, he heard it. The faint whir of a drone outside their window. Small, expensive, equipped with a camera lens that glinted in the streetlight. Derek moved fast. He grabbed the broom from the kitchen, opened the window in one smooth motion, and threw it. The broom handle caught the drone perfectly, sending it spiraling into the alley below. By the time he got downstairs, it was gone. Someone had retrieved it. He texted the number Olivia had given him. They're watching. Her response came immediately. Pack a bag. My team is en route. No, not yet. Hayes, don't be stupid. Not stupid. Careful. If we run, they'll know they've got us scared. They've got drones on your apartment. You should be scared. Scared and running are different things. There was a long pause. Then you're insufferable, and you're used to people doing what you say. Fine. But my team is stationed 2 blocks away. If anything happens, they're there in 90 seconds. Noted. Derek went back upstairs, but he didn't sleep. He watched, and he thought about Olivia's words, about how running from the past never worked, about how some things once started had to be finished. The next day, Olivia showed up at his work, not the apartment, the tower. She found him on the 37th floor emptying trash in an executive conference room. She closed the door behind her. No security this time, just her. I've been thinking about what you said, she began. Derek continued working. Which part? The part about being a father, not a weapon. She paused. I understand that more than you might think. Derek looked at her. Really looked, saw past the expensive clothes and the corporate armor, saw someone who'd been scared at 14 and never quite stopped being scared. What happened when you were taken? He asked quietly. Olivia's composure cracked. She sat in one of the conference chairs. 4 days in a basement, They fed me once a day, told me my father didn't care enough to pay, that I was going to die there. Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. Then someone came. Not the police, not FBI, someone else. He got me out, carried me through a forest. I remember his arms felt safe. I remember thinking, if I just hold on, I'll be okay. She looked up. I never saw his face clearly, just remember his voice, deep and calm. He was gone by the time the official rescue team arrived. Derek stopped working. His throat felt tight. For years, I tried to find him, Olivia continued, but there were no records. My father said some operations were too classified to trace, that I should be grateful and move on. She laughed bitterly. I never moved on. I built an empire instead, became powerful enough that no one could take me again. But it didn't work. I'm still that scared 14-year-old in the dark. You're not. Derek said that girl survived. This woman thrived. Did she? Or did she just build higher walls? Before Derek could answer, his phone rang. Zoe's school. His daughter was sick. Nothing serious, but could he pick her up? He apologized to Olivia and left. But her words stayed with him. About walls, about survival, about the difference between the two. That evening, while Zoe slept with a mild fever, Derek received another text. Check your door. He opened it. An envelope inside a photo. Zoe's school taken today. Someone had been watching. Derek's hands shook with rage. He called Olivia's number. They photographed my daughter. Come to my office now. Bring Zoe. It's 11 at night. I don't care. If they're bold enough to surveil a school, they're bold enough to act. My building has security. Yours doesn't. Derek looked at his sleeping daughter. Then he made the call no parent wants to make. He woke her gently. Hey, sweetheart, we need to go somewhere safe tonight. Zoe, still foggy with fever, didn't question. She trusted him. That trust was everything. Olivia's office occupied the entire top floor of Monarch Industries Tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, a space designed to intimidate. But when Derek arrived with Zoe wrapped in a blanket, Olivia had transformed it. A couch was made up with pillows and a comforter. Hot chocolate waited on a side table. Children's books were stacked nearby. I called my assistant, Olivia explained. She has nieces. Zoe perked up at the hot chocolate. While she drank and paged through a picture book, the adults talked in low voices across the room. My security team found the drone you destroyed. Olivia said military grade, the kind that cost 6 figures. Whoever's funding this isn't playing. I know there's more. We traced the mercenaries you stopped. They were hired through a shell company that connects to 15 other shell companies. But at the end of the trail, a name, Harlan Voss. Derek's blood ran cold. Are you certain? You know him? I know of him. He's a fixer, the kind powerful people call when they need problems to disappear. If he's involved, this isn't about money or business. It's personal. Personal? How? Derek hesitated, then decided truth was the only option. 20 years ago, I was part of a counter-terrorism unit. We did extractions, hostage rescue, the kind of missions that never made the news. One of those missions involved a senator's daughter who'd been taken by a criminal organization. Harlan Voss was the middleman. We disrupted his operation, and he lost a lot of money. He swore revenge against everyone involved. Olivia's face went pale. What was the senator's name? Hart. Senator Alexander Hart. The silence stretched. Olivia sat down hard. You were the one who saved me. Derek nodded slowly. I didn't know it was you. I didn't know you were Alexander Hart's daughter. You were just a scared kid who needed help. You carried me through the forest. You told me stories to keep me calm. You said, her voice broke. You said my father loved me very much and I'd see him soon. I remember. Olivia's eyes filled with tears she wouldn't let fall. I've been looking for you for 20 years and you've been here cleaning my building. I didn't know. How could you not know, Derek? I've extracted dozens of people. I never learned their names. It was safer that way for them and for me. When I left the unit, I left everything behind, including the faces of the people I saved. She stood abruptly, walked to the window. Her reflection ghosted against the city lights. So, Harlan Voss is doing this because of me, because my father refused to pay ransom 20 years ago, and your team came instead. Revenge delayed is revenge amplified. Derek said he's had 2 decades to build resources and plan this. Then he's not just after me, he's after you too. Olivia turned, and Zoe. Derek looked at his daughter who'd fallen asleep on the couch. I won't let him near her. We won't, Olivia corrected. You saved me once. Let me help save her. The next 72 hours moved fast. Olivia's security team swept the building, found 2 more surveillance devices, and identified 3 potential breach points. They discovered that Harlan had people inside Monarch Industries, a maintenance worker who'd been installed 6 months ago, and a mid-level executive who'd been turned through blackmail. But Olivia and Derek had advantages Harlan didn't expect. Olivia had resources. Derek had training. And together, they had something Harlan couldn't plan for. They cared about the same thing, keeping Zoe safe. The attack came on the 4th night. Zoe was sleeping in Olivia's office, guarded by 2 security personnel. Derek and Olivia were reviewing building schematics when the alarms went silent. Not triggered. Silenced. Someone had hacked their security system. They're here, Derek said. He grabbed a fire extinguisher, heavy, blunt, and available. Get Zoe to the panic room now. Where are you going? To buy you time. Derek moved through the darkened corridors like a ghost. The emergency lights cast red shadows. He could hear them. Footsteps trying to be quiet. Multiple teams well coordinated. He counted at least 8 hostiles. The smart play was to hide, to wait for police, but police took time. Zoe didn't have time. He took down the first 2 in a supply closet. Quick, quiet. He used their radios to listen to the others. They were searching floor by floor, looking for Olivia. They didn't know about Derek. The 3rd and 4th went down in the stairwell. Derek used the narrow space to his advantage. They couldn't surround him, couldn't use their numbers. One at a time, they fell. But the 5th was smart. He didn't come through the door. He came through the window, repelling gear. He crashed through the glass of a conference room and nearly caught Derek off guard. They fought hard. Derek took a knife slash across his ribs. The mercenary took a chair to the skull. By the time Derek reached the top floor, his shirt was soaked with blood. Not all his. He was breathing hard. His knuckles were split, but Zoe's room was ahead. And standing between him and that room were the last 3 mercenaries and Harlan Voss himself. Harlan was in his 50s, gray-haired, distinguished in the way villains in movies always were. He wore an expensive suit and held a pistol, like he knew how to use it. Derek Hayes? Or should I say Ghost? That was your call sign, wasn't it? Harlan smiled. I've waited 20 years for this. Then you've wasted 20 years? Oh, I don't think so. I've built an empire while you've been pushing a mop. Who's really won? The man whose daughter is still breathing. Harlan's smile faded. Not for long. You cost me everything that night. My reputation, my connections, millions in lost revenue. And for what? To save some politician's brat. To save a child. That's all she was. A child. And now she's the CEO who's about to die in a tragic building fire. Harlan gestured to his men. Kill him slowly. The 3 mercenaries advanced. Derek was tired, injured, outnumbered, but he'd been in worse situations, and he'd survived because he knew something they didn't. How to fight when everything mattered. The first mercenary came high. Derek ducked, drove his shoulder into the man's gut, used his momentum to throw him into the second. They tangled, went down. The third pulled a knife. Derek caught his wrist twisted, heard the snap. The man screamed. Derek silenced him with an elbow to the temple. The first two were getting up. Derek grabbed a desk lamp, swung it like a club. Glass shattered. One went down, the other lunged. Derek sidestepped, tripped him, and the man's head connected with a filing cabinet with a sound that made Harlan wince. Then it was just Harlan and his pistol. The older man's hand shook slightly. "You should have stayed hidden. I tried. You found me anyway because you were sloppy, sentimental. A child made you weak." "No," Derek said, stepping forward. "A child made me strong." Harlan fired. Derek moved. The bullet grazed his shoulder. He kept coming. Harlan fired again. Missed. Then Derek was on him. The pistol clattered away. They went down hard. Harlan was trained. But Derek was desperate, and desperation beat training every time. It ended with Harlan unconscious and Derek leaning against the wall, bleeding and exhausted. Behind him, a door opened. Zoe stood there, tears streaming down her face. Olivia was right behind her. "Daddy." Zoe ran to him. Derek caught her with his good arm, held her close. "It's okay, baby. It's over. It's all over." But Zoe pulled back, looked at the blood on his dark skin. "You're hurt. Just a little. Daddy's tough. You're very tough," Olivia said quietly. She was crying, too. "Thank you." Derek looked at her over Zoe's head. "You'd have done the same for me. I don't know if I would have been brave enough. Bravery isn't about being fearless. It's about being terrified and doing it anyway." Police arrived 12 minutes later. FBI 20 minutes after that. By sunrise, Harlan Voss was in federal custody, facing enough charges to ensure he'd never see freedom again. The mercenaries he'd hired were rounded up. The people he'd planted inside Monarch Industries were removed. And Derek Hayes sat in a hospital bed getting stitches with his daughter asleep in the chair beside him. The government came with offers: return to service, full reinstatement, better pay. Derek listened politely and declined. "My daughter needs a father, not a weapon. I'm done being a weapon." They accepted his answer and left, but Olivia stayed. "I have an offer too," she said. "Head of security for Monarch Industries. Real salary, benefits, an apartment in a building with actual working heat, and most importantly, hours that let you be there when your daughter needs you. I'm not qualified. You stopped a coordinated assault by 8 trained operatives. You're overqualified." She paused. "And before you say no, think about Zoe. She deserves better than a one-room apartment and second-hand clothes. I don't want charity. It's not charity. It's payment for services rendered." And Olivia paused. "Maybe it's more than that. You saved my life twice. The least I can do is help improve yours." "Why?" "Because 20 years ago you showed me that good people exist, that someone would come when I needed them most. Let me be that person for Zoe, please." Derek was quiet for a long time. Then she'd need to stay in her current school, and I'd need weekends off. Olivia smiled. Done. 3 months later, on a Saturday morning, 3 people walked through the park near Olivia's building. Derek, his shoulder fully healed, pushed Zoe on the swings. Olivia sat nearby on a bench, watching them with something that looked like peace on her face. She traded her power suits for jeans on weekends, let her hair down, literally and figuratively. Zoe jumped off the swing mid-arc, landed perfectly, and ran to them. "Did you see?" "I flew." "You did," Derek said, catching her like a bird. Like the best bird. Zoe took both their hands. Derek's on one side, Olivia's on the other, her brown fingers wrapped around theirs with complete trust. "Can we get ice cream?" "It's 10 in the morning. Olivia said. Ice cream doesn't have a time. Zoe argued with perfect 7-year-old logic. Olivia looked at Derek. He shrugged. The kid makes a good point. They walked together toward the ice cream cart. Zoe swung between them, chattering about a book she was reading and a friend she'd made and a butterfly she'd seen. Normal things. Beautiful things. At one point, Zoe looked up at her father. Daddy. Yeah, sweetheart. We're safe now, right? The bad men are gone. Derek squeezed her hand. We're safe, I promise. Good, because I like it here. I like Olivia. I like our new home. She paused. Do you think Mommy would like it too? Derek's throat tightened. He looked at Olivia, who had tears in her eyes. Yeah, baby, I think she'd love it. She'd be proud of you, and you and me. Zoe seemed satisfied. She skipped ahead toward the ice cream cart, leaving the two adults walking behind. Thank you, Olivia said softly, for letting me be part of this. Thank you for giving us a chance at something better. Is it better? Derek looked at his daughter, laughing in the sunshine, safe and happy and loved. Yeah, it's better. Olivia slipped her hand into his. Not romantic, not yet, but promising. The beginning of something that might grow if given time and care. Derek let it happen. For the first time in 7 years, he let himself imagine a future that wasn't just survival. They reached the ice cream cart. Zoe ordered strawberry. Olivia ordered vanilla. Derek ordered chocolate. They sat on a park bench, 3 people who'd found each other in the darkness and decided to build something in the light. Daddy, Zoe said through a mouthful of strawberry ice cream. You're the best daddy in the whole world. Derek kissed the top of her head, his hand gentle against her braided hair. You're the best Zoe in the whole world. She giggled. Olivia smiled, and for a moment everything was exactly as it should be. Safe, warm together.